In a world saturated with noise, distractions, and half-baked truths, where stories are spun faster than facts can breathe, and public opinion is shaped long before evidence even sees the light. We're not here to stir outrage. We're not playing sides, pushing narratives, or chasing clicks. We're here to cut through the fog, to bring the truth, raw, real, and often uncomfortable. Our judgments are built on transparency, logic, and actual evidence, not on assumptions, not on headlines, and definitely not on emotional bait. We're not here to tell you what to think. We're here to give you everything you need so you can decide what's real. Welcome to Truth Unfiltered with Critical Thinkers, where the truth is louder than the mob. In the ruthless machinery of Korean entertainment, where idols and actors are polished into perfection and discarded at the slightest sign of tarnish, survival is a game of silence, subservience, and spotless image control. It's a well-oiled cycle of damage control, a cultural autoimmune response where careers are sacrificed to protect brand optics and agency reputations. Yet, amid this hyper-reactive landscape, one agency is defying the script, and doing so with audacity. When a scandal surfaced around beloved actor Kim Soo Hyun, expectations were clear. Gold Medalist would retreat, apologize, and sever ties. That's what the industry does. That's what we've come to expect. But they didn't. Instead, Gold Medalist has doubled down, issuing strong denials, rallying behind their star, and signaling to the world that they won't abandon their talent to speculation and social media fury. This begs the question, why? Why, in an ecosystem where silence equals survival, is one agency choosing to speak, loudly and consistently, on behalf of a man at the center of controversy? And more importantly, what precedent are they setting for the industry, the public, and the future of celebrity accountability? In this episode of Truth Unfiltered with Critical Thinkers, we dive into the strategic, ethical, and cultural dimensions of Gold Medalist's loyalty, and why it might redefine Korean entertainment as we know it. To understand how radical Gold Medalist's response is, we must first examine the system it is rebelling against, a meticulously engineered entertainment culture built on silence, sacrifice, and sanitized images. South Korea's idol and actor manufacturing system is one of the most sophisticated media pipelines in the world. Its roots trace back to the early 1990s, when the formation of K-pop groups Seo Taiji and Boys changed the landscape of Korean popular culture. But it was the debut of HOT under SM Entertainment in 1996 that marked the beginning of the idol trainee era, a system that would evolve into a global empire. In this system, young hopefuls, sometimes as young as 11, are recruited into full-time training programs that last for years. These programs demand mastery of singing, dancing, acting, and language, while also enforcing strict discipline, body image standards, and public behavior codes. Contracts, often known as slave contracts in early years due to their length and restrictions, included morality clauses that essentially allowed agencies to drop talent for behavior deemed reputationally risky. Boe, one of K-pop's earliest international breakout stars, debuted at just 13 years old under SM Entertainment, becoming a symbol of the system's high-output, high-control model. Her success paved the way for artists like TVXQ, Girls' Generation, and EXO, who would become not only cultural icons, but also brand ambassadors, media darlings, and, ultimately, public property. As these acts gained global recognition, the expectations placed upon them tightened. The standard was not merely professionalism or excellence, it was perfection, both artistic and moral. In the Korean entertainment landscape, silence is a strategy, one taught to artists from the beginning of their training. Don't speak unless spoken to. Smile, apologize, bow. These mantras are instilled from day one, not just to maintain harmony, but to survive in an ecosystem where deviation from the expected path invites instant punishment. This pressure creates what psychologists describe as performance-based identity conditioning, in which young celebrities learn to measure their worth solely by public reception and industry approval. That leaves little room for emotional growth or personal identity, particularly when one's livelihood is tied to the maintenance of an image. The psychological toll is not hypothetical. A 2017 report by the Korean Society for Traumatic Stress Studies found that more than 40% of Korean celebrities experience symptoms of depression, anxiety, and identity crises. In recent years, tragic celebrity suicides, including Sheenie's Jonghyun, 2017, and Sully, 19, have forced the public to confront the crushing weight of these expectations. What is often less discussed, however, is how the machine continues to turn, even after tragedy. Scandals disappear, agencies recover, the next trainee steps forward. Unlike the West, where scandal often becomes part of a celebrity's public identity and sometimes even fuels renewed interest, Korea's collectivist society treats public figures as communal symbols. Their personal conduct reflects not just on themselves, but on the groups, brands, and even national identity they are affiliated with. This difference in cultural values explains why scandal hits differently in Seoul than in Los Angeles. In the West, figures like Robert Downey Jr., Winona Ryder, and Johnny Depp have staged comebacks after public disgrace, even finding commercial success from their redemption arcs. In South Korea, such arcs are rare. Scandal is viewed not as a chapter in a story, but as the final page. The entertainment industry here operates with zero tolerance for perceived moral failings. Celebrities are expected to embody Han, Jong, and Nunchi, Korean cultural concepts tied to empathy, humility, and social awareness. These values serve as both emotional guideposts and behavioral expectations. Breaking them, even unintentionally, can be seen as betrayal. One reason the industry often chooses swift severance over support is that it's safer. When a scandal erupts, the logic followed by many agencies is brutal in its clarity. Save the brand, not the person. This is why so many Korean agencies have media departments more focused on reputation triage than public relations. Scandals are managed like crises in diplomacy, swift, sterile, and silent. The talent is often instructed to apologize regardless of culpability, issue a handwritten letter of contrition, and vanish from the spotlight indefinitely. A recent case study is actress Kim Soo Hyun, who after a drunk driving incident in 2022 was dropped by multiple brands, scrubbed from broadcasts, and forced into public apology tours. While her actions carried legal consequences, the media coverage and netizen response made rehabilitation almost impossible. This same brutal efficiency is what has built the fear economy. In Korean entertainment, a culture where artists and agencies operate under the constant threat of public annihilation. Which brings us back to the central question. In such a system, why would Gold Medalist choose to break the silence? In the Korean entertainment industry, scandal doesn't unfold, it detonates. The moment rumors surface, protocols activate like a well-rehearsed fire drill, pull endorsements, cancel appearances, sever ties. There's no pause for evidence, no time for nuance. The cases of Kim Garam, Seo Ye-ji, and Lee Seung-kyun are more than headlines. They're blueprints for the way scandal can derail careers and, in Lee Seung-kyun's case, take a life. In 2022, Kim Garam, a member of HYBE's new girl group, Lee Seraphim, debuted to enormous fanfare as the company's next It Girl. But just days after her debut, anonymous posts surfaced online alleging that Garam had participated in school bullying. Screenshots of text messages and edited documents spread like wildfire across Korean social media and forums like Nate Pan and The Coup. Though HYBE initially denied the claims and released a vague counter-narrative claiming Garam was actually a victim, public pressure escalated. As online sentiment soured, major brands pulled back, and less than 2 months after debuting, Garam was officially removed from Lee Seraphim. No formal investigation, no public resolution. The scandal also illuminated the fragile nature of idol branding. In Korea's zero-tolerance image culture, the allegation becomes the verdict. Garam's career didn't just pause, it vanished, with no opportunity to clarify or return. Actress Seo Ye-ji was riding high in 2020 after her critically acclaimed performance in It's Okay to Not Be Okay. She was positioned as a rising global star, but in April 2021, rumors emerged about her allegedly manipulative behavior toward ex-boyfriend and actor Kim Jong-hyun during a past drama shoot. Dispatch released messages suggesting she pressured him to avoid romantic scenes, resulting in unprofessional on-set behavior. The texts, which were neither officially confirmed nor legally verified, ignited a frenzy. Brands dropped Seo Ye-ji overnight. Her appearance in Island was delayed, and multiple contracts were quietly cancelled. No criminal investigation was opened, no charges filed, but her marketability plummeted. Again, not due to a court verdict, but through trial by dispatch. Perhaps the most tragic recent case is Lee Sun-kyun, the acclaimed actor from Parasite and My Mister. In late 2023, he was accused of drug use through leaks from police investigations. Initial reports were vague, referencing anonymous tip-offs and unconfirmed testing. Despite his cooperation with authorities and multiple negative drug tests, Lee faced relentless tabloid scrutiny. His face was scrubbed from ongoing projects. He was blacklisted from broadcast networks before formal charges were even filed. On December 27, 2023, Lee Sun-kyun was found dead in an apparent suicide. His story shocked the nation. Many began to question the aggressive tactics used by media and law enforcement, and the public's eagerness to consume unverified rumors. His death marked a devastating point in the conversation about mental health, media responsibility, and the pressure placed on Korean celebrities. These cases follow a formula. An accusation arises, the press escalates, agencies retreat, brands flee, and the public decides guilt in real time. Traditional legal principles like innocent until proven guilty are not only absent in this system, they are actively reversed. This is the heart of what sociologists now call social prosecution, a digital-first form of vigilantism where emotional response overrides factual verification. The Korean term netizen panjong, netizen panjong, translates literally to netizen judgment. It's a culturally accepted phenomenon where anonymous users collectively assess someone's guilt. The evidence is rarely legal. It's often screenshots, rumors, or loose associations. But in the Korean media landscape, especially on platforms like The Coup, DC Inside, and Instiz, it's enough. As public sentiment crystallizes, news outlets echo these verdicts with headlines like "Public turns on actor X" or "Netizens demand removal," reinforcing the cycle. Scandal in Korea doesn't just spread, it monetizes. Many top platforms are ad revenue dependent. Dispatch, Korea's premier tabloid news outlet, thrives on sensationalist scoops. According to data from SimilarWeb, Dispatch sees spikes in monthly traffic every time a high-profile scandal breaks, with ad CPMs, cost per thousand impressions, peaking during times of public outrage. Likewise, forums like Nate Pan and video channels such as Garo Sero Research Institute use scandal content to drive traffic, donations, and engagement. YouTube monetization policies allow channels to earn thousands of dollars on reaction videos, most of which are opinion-driven, unverified, and algorithmically favored for their sensational titles. This creates a profit loop. The more divisive and damaging the content, the more it's promoted, watched, and shared. The public's anger becomes someone else's paycheck. Advertisers in Korea are notoriously risk-averse. According to Brandstock Korea, over 60% of companies will terminate or suspend a brand deal immediately upon negative public sentiment, even in the absence of legal findings. This results in brands pulling ads, shows editing out appearances, and previously scheduled press tours being cancelled without explanation. The goal is simple: avoid becoming guilty by association. But the consequence is stark. The celebrity becomes financially excommunicated before their side is even heard. This behavior was particularly evident in Seoyeji's case, where brands like Yuhan Health, AER Korea, and New Origin removed her as ambassador within 48 hours of the Dispatch story. For Lee Sun-kyun, ad withdrawals began even before he addressed the allegations publicly. What's most chilling is that these practices aren't anomalies, they're policies. Agencies, especially the Big Four, SM, JYP, YG, HYBE, maintain internal crisis manuals that outline protocols for what to do when a scandal hits. These manuals often prioritize speed over substance. The typical recommendation is to issue a placeholder apology, suspend schedules, and evaluate the situation, which usually means seeing how public sentiment evolves over 24 to 48 hours. If backlash intensifies, agencies often preemptively cut ties before facts are established, prioritizing their survival over their artists. This protocol is why cases like Gold Medalist's defense of Kim Soo Hyun stand out so starkly, because in the Korean system, silence isn't just damage control, it's the rule book. Lost in this well-rehearsed playbook is the human cost. Reputations don't just vanish, they are assassinated. Careers don't just pause, they are buried. Artists like Garam, Seo, and Lee face judgment not from the courts, but from comment sections and YouTube thumbnails. The very platforms that once built them up as aspirational figures now serve as execution grounds. In a 2022 survey by the Korean Institute for Mental Health, 1 in 3 Korean celebrities reported suicidal ideation due to online harassment or public backlash. The entertainment system, which invests millions in training stars, often offers zero support once things go south. In the high-stakes world of Korean entertainment, perfection isn't just expected, it's enforced. In a culture where public figures are held to near-impossible standards of moral purity, even the hint of controversy can become a career death sentence. It's not about guilt or innocence, it's about optics. The illusion of wholesomeness is as carefully cultivated as any pop hit or TV script. And once that illusion cracks, redemption rarely follows. This culture of compulsory flawlessness stems from a deeply entrenched societal belief that celebrities are more than entertainers, they are symbols. Their image represents family values, national pride, and idealized morality. A single misstep threatens not just their personal careers, but the carefully constructed fantasies they are paid to maintain. From the moment a celebrity debuts, they're expected to embody a cultural ideal that fuses humility, talent, visual appeal, and moral integrity. This idol persona is more than branding. It's a carefully choreographed illusion that must hold up under microscopic scrutiny. Flaws aren't allowed, because flaws aren't marketable. The margins for error are razor thin. Whether you're a chart-topping idol or a veteran actor, the expectation is the same. Be a product of perfection. The moment that image is compromised, even by rumors, the illusion collapses, often with irreversible consequences. Idols and actors are groomed to be flawless, and the second a scandal surfaces, they're often tossed aside like yesterday's news. Agencies, built to maximize marketability, are hypersensitive to anything that might impact their bottom line. In a country where public opinion shifts as swiftly as trending hashtags, companies often choose scorched earth tactics over nuanced responses. One scandal can spook advertisers, tank shareholder confidence, and trigger mass fan exodus, so swift removal is seen as a form of self-preservation. The calculus is simple and cold: protect the brand at all costs. And in that equation, the star often becomes collateral damage. The training systems themselves reinforce this disposability. Most agencies operate on a cycle: discover, debut, discard. If one talent falters, another is waiting in the wings, often younger, hungrier, and easier to control. The result? Stars are treated less like people and more like interchangeable products, valuable only as long as they remain untarnished. And so, silence, obedience, and keeping up a pristine image? That's the survival game. Speaking out, even in defense, is rare and often punished. The industry runs on controlled narratives, and deviation from the script can lead to exile. For many, the choice isn't between silence and truth, it's between silence and survival. So when controversy comes knocking, agencies usually bolt. The entertainment industry's lifeblood is public trust, and it doesn't wait for courts to decide guilt. But in the middle of all this predictability, one agency is doing something different. Boldly different. And in an industry built on repetition and conformity, that kind of deviation isn't just surprising, it's revolutionary. The silence of the accused has long been a coded language in Korean celebrity culture. By saying nothing, an entertainer often implies guilt, intentionally or not, and their agency's next move usually confirms it. Endorsements disappear overnight. It's a knee-jerk reaction based more on optics than justice. It's damage control on autopilot, careers sacrificed to protect brand images and corporate reputations. For advertisers and drama producers, association with a scandal, even a baseless one, is toxic. They fear boycotts, investor backlash, or government scrutiny. To them, distancing from the individual isn't personal, it's fiscal policy. So by the time a celebrity hears their name trending, often prefaced by words like allegation or exposé, they already know the script. There's denial from the agency, which causes public uproar. There is public uproar and brands drop the celebrity. The celebrity is then dropped from projects. Apologies are churned out faster than the accused can speak. Suspend activities. Contracts with agencies cancelled. The celebrity isn't heard from again. This script has been so consistently followed, it's now seen as the only way to respond. There's almost a ritualistic rhythm to it all. Allegation, outrage, silence, apology, erasure. Public relations teams often operate on pre-written crisis templates. Once an allegation gains traction online, agencies move immediately to mitigate risk. The accused may not even be consulted before an apology is drafted or a project is cancelled. And for many, the final scene is career death. But what happens when someone tears up the script? That's what Gold Medalist did with their defiance, not as a PR decision, but as a fundamental rejection of the industry's default response. To understand Gold Medalist's loyalty, we must first understand Kim Soo Hyun's value, not just to the public, but to the agency itself. When Gold Medalist launched in 2020, Kim Soo Hyun was its inaugural, and at the time, only superstar. His signing effectively put the agency on the map. He wasn't just their crown jewel, he was their foundation. Kim's decades-long career, from breakout roles in Dream High to record-breaking hits like My Love from the Star, Moon Embracing the Sun, and It's Okay to Not Be Okay, has earned him a reputation as a Hallyu giant. He commands top-tier fees, global syndication value, and multinational brand deals, from Korea to China to Southeast Asia. His most recent drama, Queen of Tears, broke TVN's viewership records, reaffirming his status as a national treasure and an international sensation. Industry insiders have long speculated that Kim holds significant leverage or equity in the agency. Some rumors even suggest that he had a hand in shaping the agency's vision and recruitment. Whether or not these whispers are true, the reality is simple. Gold Medalist without Kim Soo Hyun is a house without its cornerstone. To drop him isn't just to end a contract, it's to invite collapse. Kim Soo Hyun is not just an actor, he's an institution, and in Korea's high-stakes celebrity economy, he operates like a conglomerate in a single body. According to 2023 estimates from the Korea Creative Content Agency, Kim ranks consistently among the top 3 highest-paid actors in South Korea, with per-episode drama fees exceeding 500 million KRWs, or $385,000. But the true power of Kim lies not in what he earns, but in what he enables. His dramas are sold globally, with licensing rights distributed to platforms like Netflix, iQIYI, Viki, and Tencent Video. It's Okay to Not Be Okay reached over 190 countries, while Queen of Tears became one of TVN's highest-rated cable dramas of all time, pulling a national rating of 24.9% in its final week. This kind of viewership translates directly to international streaming rights, merchandise sales, tourism boosts, and cross-border co-productions. Global brand magnetism. Kim's face is plastered across Asia, not just as a drama star, but as a luxury brand ambassador. He has represented brands like Samsung, Zeosia, Beanpole, Black Yak, and Coca-Cola Korea, as well as high-end houses like Mido Watches, Gentle Monster, and most recently, Balmain. In China, despite ongoing restrictions on Korean entertainment post-THAAD, Kim remains one of the few actors with enduring relevance. His Weibo fanbase boasts over 12 million followers, and fan engagement spikes each time he appears in promotional campaigns or makes a rare public statement. He is a rare breed of celebrity who appeals across generations, respected by older viewers for his nuanced acting, adored by younger fans for his visuals and emotional performances. Gold Medalist, as of 2024, is still considered a boutique agency with fewer than 15 signed artists. Despite adding names like Choi Hyun-wook and Kim Se-ron prior to controversy, Kim Soo Hyun remains its largest and most dependable revenue stream. A 2022 investor report filed to Korea's Financial Supervisory Service, FSS, revealed that over 65% of Gold Medalist's annual revenue was linked to Kim's projects, either through direct acting income, advertisement appearances, or related licensing deals. That's why his scandal threatened more than public perception. It put the agency's solvency on the line. Dropping Kim would not only have severed key revenue channels, it likely would have triggered a mass exodus of investors, advertisers, and distribution partners. What further complicates Kim's cultural weight is his fanbase loyalty, which is both an economic and political force. The Kim Soo Hyun Fan Union, a collection of global fan groups, has funded subway ads, Times Square LED displays, charity drives in his name, and even rice donations to hospitals, an old K-pop tradition meant to honor stars. In 2021, his fans raised over 50 million $38,000 for COVID-19 aid under his name. Fan networks like these are powerful digital armies, capable of trending hashtags, defending reputations, and influencing public narratives. In the absence of formal PR responses, it's often the fandom that takes the front lines, translating Korean statements, clarifying rumors, and even flagging harmful content. This influence likely factored into Gold Medalist's decision to stand by Kim. The cost of alienating a fanbase this mobilized could be far more damaging than weathering the storm. Kim isn't just a performer. His public persona has, over the years, morphed into something much larger, a symbol of Korean soft power. He's been featured in Korean government cultural exports, tourism campaigns, and as a de facto face of the Korean wave movement. After My Love from the Star, he was credited with a 41% spike in Korean fried chicken sales in China, sparking what became known as the Kim Soo Hyun effect in food marketing. A single scandal involving such a figure doesn't just risk a career, it threatens a brand ecosystem that extends to nations, industries, and international cultural diplomacy. For Gold Medalist, then, the decision to protect Kim was not just about principle, it was about preservation, not just of profit, but of identity, their identity. It also raises the stakes of failure. Should public perception turn decisively against Kim, the consequences for Gold Medalist would be catastrophic. Contract termination clauses could be activated by brands. Streaming services may quietly pull licensing deals. Global distributors may blacklist future titles. Other talent may jump ship, fearing similar exposure. But in defending Kim, they've also made a larger statement to the industry: we don't run. And that message has power in an entertainment landscape built on fear, loyalty tests, and reputational precarity. What becomes clear is that Kim Soo Hyun isn't replaceable. Not for Gold Medalist, not for brands, not for the global audiences that built their emotional connection with Korean entertainment through his work. He is a nexus of culture, commerce, and national identity. To abandon him in haste would be to burn bridges no agency can afford to rebuild. And that is what makes this case, so pivotal. In choosing to stand by him, Gold Medalist is gambling not just on public forgiveness, but on the possibility that cultural icons are bigger than the controversies that try to undo them. Gold Medalist isn't one of Korea's big four legacy agencies, yet it has quickly risen in prestige. Founded in January 2020 by CEO Lee Sarang, the agency began with a single, monumental signing: Kim Soo Hyun. The timing was significant. Kim had just completed his mandatory military service and was poised for a major comeback. By aligning with him, Gold Medalist instantly gained visibility, legitimacy, and leverage in a highly saturated market. The agency's founding vision was refreshingly simple, but radical by K-industry standards. Artist-first management, structured around autonomy, long-term brand building, and ethical public engagement. According to interviews given in early 2021 with the Korea Economic Daily, the founders envisioned a company that would invest in the person, not just the product. At the time of its launch, this branding seemed idealistic, even naive. Yet within 2 years, Gold Medalist secured major actors like Seo Ye-ji, prior to her scandal, and Kim Se-ron, both of whom carried major drama clout. Despite early controversy, the company stood out for its tight roster, streamlined decision-making, and bold PR strategy, a contrast to the bureaucratic, hierarchical machinery of larger firms. The norm is immediate distancing. When the scandal involving Kim Soo Hyun emerged in 2025, most in the industry assumed that Gold Medalist would follow the playbook. Issue a vague statement, pause appearances, let public opinion pass judgment, and protect the agency's brand through silence. But Gold Medalist chose the opposite. Instead of disavowing its top star, the agency publicly denied the rumors, called for media accountability, and refused to issue an apology. They demanded evidence before action, a concept alien in a market governed by guilt by accusation. This is not just rare, it's commercially risky. Kim Soo Hyun is not just their lead actor, he's their economic engine. According to Forbes Korea, Kim's endorsement deals and syndication revenue account for over 70% of the agency's total commercial value. His 2024 drama, Queen of Tears, broke cable records and was sold to over 190 countries via Netflix and regional syndicates, including deals with Tencent Video and IQII. Pulling Kim from the agency would have meant decimating their own financial foundation. Gold Medalist's stance, despite this high-risk exposure, signals that they are willing to gamble on principle, or at the very least, They believe that ethics and economics don't have to be mutually exclusive. From a legal standpoint, Gold Medalist's strategy is unorthodox but calculated. By refusing to issue preemptive apologies, they work to shield their actor from incriminating statements. In previous cases, apologies issued under pressure were later used as informal admissions of guilt, regardless of legal outcomes. By staying firm and requesting actual evidence, Gold Medalist has shifted the burden of proof back where it belongs, to the accusers and media outlets. Of course, Gold Medalist's strategy wasn't without its high stakes. The agency's choice to stand firmly behind Kim Soo Hyun, despite the rising storm of controversy, was a calculated risk that could have paid off or led to dire consequences. This decision was bold, perhaps even reckless, but it was also showing a level of integrity that was almost unheard of in an industry built on quick fixes and media manipulation. If, after all, evidence surfaced that significantly undermined Kim Soo Hyun's public image or proved the accusations to be true, Gold Medalist would have faced what could only have been described as a public relations catastrophe. The agency could have faced backlash not only from the public but also from its own partners and stakeholders. Brands that had endorsed Kim Soo Hyun, and by extension Gold Medalist, might have chosen to sever their ties immediately. Commercial partnerships, especially with multinational corporations that had zero tolerance for scandal, could have evaporated overnight. This could have resulted in a loss of endorsement contracts, television appearances, and even future acting roles for Kim Soo Hyun, diminishing the agency's ability to generate revenue from his star power. Furthermore, if Gold Medalist's defense of Kim Soo Hyun had proved to be misguided, fans could have turned on the agency and the actor. Kim Soo Hyun's fan base, previously his greatest asset, could have been soured by the agency's failure to properly address the allegations, potentially leading to a loss of trust between him and his supporters. This would have fundamentally disrupted the symbiotic relationship that existed between idols, their agencies, and the fans who supported them. Fans, especially those in the K-pop and K-drama worlds, often considered their favorite celebrities to be family, and betrayal of that trust, whether real or perceived, could have created irreversible damage. But even if the accusations turned out to be false or exaggerated, the process of public rehabilitation would have been far from smooth. The industry and the public were quick to judge, and even the most innocent celebrities found themselves fighting an uphill battle for public acceptance once the spectre of scandal loomed over them. There were always lingering doubts and the potential for whispers to haunt a celebrity for years to come. Negative perceptions could have lingered, sometimes becoming more powerful than the truth, especially in a world where social media amplified public sentiment to an unprecedented scale. And yet, despite these risks, Gold Medalist had remained steadfast in its approach. They have essentially placed all their chips on the table, choosing to wait it out, trust the process, and invest in long-term damage control. This is where the true nature of their gamble becomes apparent. Gold Medalist is betting that the truth will prevail, that the public will come to understand the full context of the allegations, and that Kim Soo Hyun's decades-long reputation for professionalism will ultimately protect him from the worst of the damage. Moreover, the agency seems to be betting on something much deeper, the cultural shift away from mob justice. There is a growing sentiment in Korea and globally that cancel culture, and the way it has been weaponized in the entertainment industry, is not only ethically questionable, but also incredibly harmful in the long term. More and more people are beginning to question the fairness of judgment in a society that often seems to prioritize instant outrage over careful deliberation. In this sense, Gold Medalist is positioning itself as a leader in the fight for fairness in an industry that has long been known for its lack of compassion. This isn't just about protecting Kim Soo Hyun, it's about changing the very fabric of the industry's relationship with celebrities. It's about showing that there can be a space for second chances, for growth, and for accountability, without resorting to knee-jerk condemnation. In doing so, Gold Medalist could start an industry-wide movement that values not just a celebrity's public image, but their humanity. It's a high-risk, high-reward situation, but if they succeed, it could be a landmark moment that reshapes the entire entertainment ecosystem. This willingness to embrace risk in the name of ethical responsibility is a reflection of a broader, more ambitious cultural shift. Gold medalists' move to protect Kim Soo Hyun could be seen as a catalyst for the wider entertainment world, challenging agencies to be more than just machinery for image control, and instead to become stewards of their artists' well-being, publicly and privately. And if this shift takes hold, it could reshape how stars are handled in times of crisis, moving away from a purely punitive model toward a more nuanced, compassionate approach that values due process, the opportunity for redemption, and the importance of an artist's character over their reputation in the heat of the moment. If Gold Medalist's strategy succeeds, it could spark a revolution in the Korean entertainment industry, one that might not only change how celebrities are treated during times of scandal, but also reshape the power dynamics between agencies, talent, and the public. While this move might seem bold and unprecedented, it's also something of a cultural pivot that the industry has been edging toward for years. There is a palpable sense of fatigue among the public when it comes to cancel culture and the rampant destruction of careers before any real investigation takes place. Scandals are often amplified by a media ecosystem that thrives on sensationalism. Gossip channels, tabloid outlets, and social media mobs perpetuate a cycle of outrage and scapegoating that leaves little room for nuance. In this climate, the sacrifice of stars, particularly those who have long-standing careers and loyal fan bases, has become commonplace. Yet, this formula is starting to lose its appeal, as more people question whether the swift execution of careers truly serves the greater good or merely adds to the public's growing disillusionment with the entertainment industry. Gold Medalist's stance is a direct challenge to this status quo. It's an attempt to push back against the fast-moving tide of online outrage that has too often dictated the fates of entertainers. By choosing to stand firm, they're giving a resounding voice to the idea that public opinion is not enough to define a person's character or their worth. In an age of pervasive media scrutiny, this could signal a shift toward more balanced and transparent decision-making in the face of accusations. So why did Gold Medalist take the road less traveled? It's possible the agency's leaders genuinely believe in protecting their artists from the ruthless tides of cancel culture. CEO Lee Sarang, in interviews with Korea Jungang Daily, has spoken about the moral injury inflicted on celebrities who are discarded by agencies before facts are known. The agency may be acting on a rare but real conviction that public figures deserve both advocacy and accountability, not abandonment. In a marketplace filled with interchangeable agency identities, Gold Medalist may be setting itself apart. A reputation for loyalty, strength, and truth-seeking could attract artists looking for a safer harbor. In a post-cancel culture landscape, this branding could yield long-term rewards. Kim Soo Hyun's global reach is unparalleled. Abandoning him could tank investor confidence, sponsorship networks, and long-term production deals. By protecting him, they are also protecting themselves. In all likelihood, it's a mix of all three: ethical conviction, brand strategy, and business necessity. But regardless of intent, the result is revolutionary in its implications. What makes Gold Medalist an outlier? What truly sets Gold Medalist apart isn't just that they stood by Kim Soo Hyun, it's how they did it. They issued firm, repeated denials instead of vague, apologetic statements. They refused to suspend his appearances unless required by partners, avoiding the typical preemptive blackout. They monitored online communities and even signaled intentions to pursue defamation charges if malicious rumors continued. This marks a dramatic contrast with traditional agencies, which often abandon the narrative entirely once a scandal hits. Other agencies are watching. Artists are watching. Fans are watching. Gold Medalist's decision to stand firm could set a powerful precedent. It raises urgent questions. Could this usher in a new era of artist-agency trust? Will more celebrities demand support clauses in future contracts? Will other agencies emulate this model, or isolate Gold Medalist for disrupting the ecosystem? Whatever happens next, one thing is certain: Gold Medalist is no longer just a mid-size agency with a superstar client. It has become a case study in cultural resistance, a rare moment where business, ethics, and humanity collide. This isn't unprecedented, but it's rare. In the West, we've seen similar maneuvers. Warner Bros. Stood by Ezra Miller despite a string of arrests and allegations, calculating that the sunk cost of The Flash and contractual commitments outweighed public backlash. Similarly, Johnny Depp, after years of being blacklisted during his legal battles with Amber Heard, saw public sentiment shift when private recordings and courtroom disclosures painted a more nuanced picture of the case. His inner circle, including talent managers, producers, and certain industry figures, remained quietly loyal, long enough for him to stage a comeback. Gold Medalist seems to be making a similar gamble, that the narrative will shift, that the truth will emerge, and that standing by their star will position them as principled rather than panicked. And they may be right. In a time when the public is growing fatigued with cancel culture and knee-jerk outrage, there is growing appreciation for measured responses and institutional backbone. By choosing to stand by Kim Soo Hyun, Gold Medalist is betting on time. Time for emotions to cool, time for facts to emerge, and time for public perception to adjust. In this case, the agency is gambling not just on Kim's innocence, but on the potential for public forgiveness in a world increasingly questioning the ethics of collective judgment. In Hollywood, the comeback story is a genre of its own. Stars like Robert Downey Jr., Winona Ryder, and Mel Gibson have all survived scandal, and in some cases, emerged even stronger. Downey Jr. was blacklisted for years due to drug and legal issues, only to return as Iron Man and reshape the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Ryder, after her shoplifting arrest, took a hiatus before returning in Stranger Things, winning both critical acclaim and renewed fan devotion. These redemptions are not anomalies. They are part of a cultural framework that values second chances, personal growth, and the idea that mistakes can be overcome with time, humility, and effort. Western audiences, influenced by narratives of individualism and transformation, are more inclined to separate personal behavior from professional identity, especially if the celebrity shows accountability or growth. The case of Ezra Miller is particularly instructive. Between 2020 and 2022, Miller faced multiple allegations, ranging from harassment to physical altercations and erratic behavior. At one point, they were arrested in Hawaii, accused of burglary in Vermont, and involved in various troubling headlines. Yet Warner Bros. Proceeded with the release of The Flash in 2023, a film with a budget exceeding $200 million USD. While press activity was scaled back, Miller remained attached to the project. The studio's decision, according to Variety and The Hollywood Reporter, was purely strategic. The cost of recasting and reshooting would have exceeded projected revenue loss due to scandal backlash. This is a classic example of cost-benefit tolerance, a common practice in Western media industries where financial loss, not moral panic, determines the path forward. No case better illustrates the complexity of modern scandal than Johnny Depp. Accused by ex-wife Amber Heard of abuse, Depp faced industry exile. He was dropped from franchises like Fantastic Beasts, and brands distanced themselves. However, leaked recordings and legal findings during his defamation trial in 2022 reframed public perception. The court of public opinion swung back in his favor. Hashtags like Justice for Johnny Depp trended globally. Within months of winning the trial, Depp was cast in European films, re-signed with Dior, and received standing ovations at film festivals. The key factor? Narrative shift and due process. Depp's case revealed how a return from scandal was possible when the media and public allowed room for evidence to unfold, and for a person to defend themselves. Now contrast this with South Korea, where the celebrity scandal playbook follows a very different cultural and moral trajectory. Korea's collectivist society prizes social harmony over individual expression. Public figures are expected to uphold communal values, act with humility, and maintain a spotless image, not just for themselves, but as representatives of their nation, families, agencies, and fans. This deeply rooted Confucian ethic values honor, group cohesion, and public deference. When a scandal breaks, it's not merely seen as a personal failing, it's viewed as a betrayal of social order. Thus, comeback arcs are rare. Even allegations that are later debunked often carry permanent reputational scars. While some Korean stars do return after controversy, the success rate is low, and the path back is steep. Yoo Ah-hin, accused of illegal drug use, lost nearly all brand endorsements and was pulled from multiple projects. His future remains uncertain, despite limited legal outcomes. Park Yoo-chun, once a member of JYJ and a household name, was entangled in sexual assault allegations. He was acquitted, and drug use. Though legally cleared, his career was never restored. Lee Byung-hun, involved in a blackmail scandal in 2014, returned to acting after a formal apology, but his public favorability never fully recovered in Korea, though he remains active overseas. Unlike the US, where scandal can be metabolized as part of a broader narrative arc, Korea's rigid expectations for moral perfection make such recoveries almost impossible without a total transformation in public memory. In the West, media outlets often ride the scandal wave, but they also engage in narrative rehabilitation. Think of Vanity Fair, Rolling Stone, or GQ profiles that reintroduce stars in a softer light after time has passed. In Korea, however, media institutions like Dispatch or SBS News tend to pursue sensationalist reporting with little follow-up or redemption framing. Once a celebrity is labeled problematic, few outlets invest in their comeback narrative. Audiences, too, function differently. While Western fandoms can be tribal and aggressive, there's often space for discourse, forgiveness, and even split opinion. In Korea, fandoms act more uniformly, and when they feel betrayed, they move quickly, collectively, and with force. The cancellation is often total, swift, and unforgiving. What Gold Medalist is doing, standing behind their star, asking for evidence, and refusing to rush a response, wouldn't be shocking in the US or UK. In fact, it might be expected. But in South Korea, it's nothing short of rebellious. It runs counter to industry norms, cultural expectations, and media behaviors. And in doing so, it forces everyone, public, press, agencies, and advertisers, to rethink what accountability and support should actually look like in an age of digital judgment. Whether or not it succeeds, Gold Medalist's choice to take the Western route in a Korean scandal may be the most culturally disruptive decision made by an agency in a decade. In a social media age where attention equals profit, cancel culture has become commercialized. What once may have been framed as a moral outcry is now part of a well-oiled ecosystem, one where scandal generates views, clicks, donations, and advertising dollars across the board. And in South Korea's hyper-connected media environment, this model is arguably more aggressive and lucrative than anywhere else in the world. Korean media thrives on scandal. From YouTube research channels like Garosero Research Institute, to gossip forums like Pan and The Coup, to tabloid dailies that recycle innuendo as headlines, there is an entire microeconomy built on speculation. Accusations become clickbait. Comment sections become battlegrounds. Truth becomes secondary to virality. What's worse, scandal isn't just profitable, it's weaponized. Rival agencies, disgruntled fans, and anonymous insiders leak half-truths to tip public sentiment. Rumors are amplified through digital echo chambers. Algorithms reward rage. Public figures are forced to defend themselves against mobs with more influence than any formal legal institution. In such a climate, Gold Medalist's refusal to engage in the hysteria is radical. By refraining from vague apologies, demanding evidence, and staying consistent, they're pushing back against the idea that social media sentiment is equivalent to guilt. This isn't just a defense of Kim Soo Hyun, it's a rebuke of an entire media ecosystem. Gold Medalist dares to raise the difficult questions. When did accusations become verdicts? When did due process become optional? When did entertainment agencies stop managing careers and start managing PR disasters? By choosing a different path, Gold Medalist is forcing the industry and the public to rethink the rules of engagement. This strategic defiance could be the beginning of a much-needed conversation on the ethics of celebrity management, the influence of social media, and the moral responsibility of both corporations and fans in shaping the careers of public figures. Here's how the monetization cycle works. First, scandal surfaces, often on anonymous forums or Twitter, or in rare cases like Kim Soo Hyun's, through journalistic YouTube channels. Then, news sites rush to cover, maximizing real-time traffic. After that, you see the YouTubers, TikTokers, and gossip accounts create reactions, monetizing views and live stream super chats. Finally, brands pull out, and netizens push content higher in search graphics. This causes the algorithm recognizes heat and recommends the story across platforms, and the media keeps recycling updates, extending the life cycle of outrage. According to a 2023 report by Digital Daily Korea, a viral celebrity scandal can drive up to 300% increase in ad revenue for major platforms in the first 72 hours. Pages on Dispatch, Insight Korea, and YouTube channels like Garo Sero can generate millions of views per scandal cycle. One of the most insidious aspects of the cancel economy is its entanglement with parasocial relationships, the one-sided emotional bonds fans form with public figures. These relationships are profitable for agencies when fans are in love. They drive merchandise sales, online engagement, donations, and content virality. But when betrayed, even just emotionally, these bonds invert. Fans turn on the very idols they adored, often becoming their harshest critics. Fan forums like DC Inside, Instiz, and The Coup host some of the most aggressive backlash campaigns. Ex-fans will organize boycotts, trend hashtags, and even send mass complaints to a celebrity's management team or advertisers. These communities act with speed, coordination, and digital literacy, making them a grassroots PR threat that agencies cannot afford to ignore. Tabloid news outlet Dispatch Korea has long dominated the space of celebrity surveillance journalism. Known for its tradition of revealing New Year couple exclusives, the outlet has also become the epicenter of scandal narratives. Dispatch doesn't just report, it frames. In 2021, for example, its coverage of the Seo Ye-ji scandal included selectively leaked texts, anonymous insider quotes, and high-emotion language. These tactics didn't just inform readers, they inflamed them. The outlet's commercial model relies on viral clicks, not unlike Western outlets such as TMZ. But in Korea, where reputational risk is higher and cultural expectations stricter, Dispatch's influence is more akin to that of a media court. Their framing has the power to make or break a career, before facts even catch up. No case illustrates this better than Garo Sero Research Institute, GSRI, a YouTube-based channel founded by former political figures. What began as a quasi-investigative platform has evolved into one of the most controversial digital tabloids in Korea. Garo Sero has no editorial standards, no peer review, and no accountability, but it has millions of views and a fiercely loyal audience that believes its exposés are truth. The platform is known for its clickbait headlines, using words like revealed, illegal, exclusive, dramatic, low-budget live streams with speculative accusations, and out-of-context imagery and language intended to provoke viewers into a moral frenzy. Its financial structure relies on super chats, memberships, and YouTube's ad revenue model, meaning the more chaotic the content, the more profitable the platform becomes. When Garo Sero implicated Kim Soo Hyun in alleged underage dating rumors with Kim Se-ron, it did so without evidence. But the reach was massive. Within hours, fan pages closed. Brands paused campaigns. The industry reacted not to fact, but to virality. While it's easy to blame tabloids and platforms, the uncomfortable truth is this. Agencies often participate in the cycle. To protect their own reputations, PR departments leak damaging information about rivals or scapegoats within their own roster. In 2022, investigative journalists at CISA uncovered evidence of internal whistleblowing within top agencies to control narrative flow and deflect backlash. In this way, cancellation becomes an internal strategy, not just an external risk. The reason cancel culture thrives in Korea isn't just economic, it's cultural. The public apology ritual, typically handwritten, photographed, and uploaded to Instagram, is part of a long-standing tradition rooted in collectivist ethics and Confucian shame. When a public figure fails, their obligation is not to explain, but to bow. And once they do, it often signals the end, not the beginning, of their path to forgiveness. This cycle persists because it is reinforced at every level. Fans demand accountability. Platforms boost the outrage, brands retreat from risk, agencies sacrifice to survive. Each actor is incentivized to act fast, decisively, and profitably, even if that means sacrificing truth, context, and humanity. And this is what makes Gold Medalist's strategy so disruptive. By refusing to rush a statement, apologize without cause, or remove Kim Soo Hyun from the public eye, they are breaking the monetization cycle. They are denying platforms a clean redemption arc. They are blocking the fall of Kim Soo Hyun headlines. They are standing still while everyone else scrambles for traffic. And in doing so, they are forcing us to ask a more uncomfortable question. who benefits from cancellation? Because once we follow the money, the morality of cancel culture looks far less righteous and far more profitable. In an industry where conformity is currency, Gold Medalist's response to controversy isn't just a PR decision, it is a form of cultural rebellion. At the heart of this rebellion lies a refusal to bend to the demands of digital mobs and scandal-fueled narratives. Most agencies in the Korean entertainment sector have long treated silence and surrender as synonymous with survival. When scandal arises, strategic silence typically manifests as severed contracts, vague apologies, and a rapid return to status quo. Gold Medalist has challenged that orthodoxy, not through defiance for its own sake, but through a calculated, values-driven disruption that questions the very architecture of fame in Korea. What makes their response so disruptive isn't only the act of standing by Kim Soo Hyun, but the framework through which they are doing it. This isn't chaos, it's strategy. It's an assertion that agency loyalty can be rooted in brand ethics, not merely public expediency. The cornerstone of this stance is values-based branding, a model where a company's identity is shaped not just by its commercial output, but by the values it is perceived to embody. For Gold Medalist, that value appears to be loyalty. Values-based branding has emerged as a critical differentiator in a saturated entertainment ecosystem. In a space where every agency claims to cultivate talent and protect image, few demonstrate an ethical compass when that image is at risk. Gold Medalist is positioning itself as one of those few. Its unwavering public support for Kim Soo Hyun signals a commitment not just to an individual actor, but to a broader principle, that talent is not disposable, and allegations are not convictions. This branding is not without risk, but its authenticity could translate into long-term trust, both from fans and from prospective talent. By rebuffing the unwritten rule of cut and cleanse, Gold Medalist is reshaping the contours of agency-talent relationships. In doing so, they may be altering the future of contract negotiation itself. Traditionally, Korean contracts between entertainers and agencies favor the agency, often including morality clauses that allow for immediate termination upon scandal. These clauses have been interpreted loosely, often triggered by nothing more than social media outrage. Gold Medalist's stance could prompt a renegotiation of these norms. Entertainers may begin to demand clauses that guarantee due process before termination, legal arbitration instead of social trial, and internal loyalty clauses that bind agencies to a standard of support. The ripple effects wouldn't stop at contracts. The role of public relations teams within entertainment companies could evolve dramatically. Rather than serving as cleanup crews for controversy, PR departments may be reimagined as narrative strategists, proactively shaping long-term reputations rather than retroactive managing crisis fallout. Gold Medalist's approach, marked by consistency, tone control, and refusal to pander, exemplifies this shift. It is slow PR in a fast outrage world. It is principle over panic. The industry has always functioned on optics, but now it may begin to function on ideology. When an agency like Gold Medalist says no to the mob, it reframes the power dynamic between public sentiment and corporate decision-making. It rejects the idea that virality equals validity. This decision places them not just as an outlier, but potentially as a pioneer of a new cultural posture, one in which institutional loyalty becomes a brand identity, not a liability. There's a historical parallel here worth noting. In the early 2000s, Nike faced global protests over sweatshop labor. Initially defensive, the company eventually pivoted to radical transparency, allowing third-party auditors and publishing labor reports. This strategy, though born from crisis, ultimately rebuilt its brand on a foundation of accountability. Gold Medalist could be following a similar arc, using this moment not just to survive, but to reframe its narrative. Instead of seeking to distance itself from risk, it is leaning into the ethics of support. Of course, the Korean context differs. Confucian ideals of purity, humility, and obedience still influence cultural expectations around celebrities. In this context, Gold Medalist's refusal to apologize on behalf of an unproven allegation is more than unusual. It's revolutionary. It disrupts the historical norm of submission and silence, offering instead a model of steadfastness and strategic authenticity. And in doing so, it suggests that ethical commitment can become a competitive edge. This cultural disruption also holds implications for recruitment and talent acquisition. As artists become more aware of how disposable they are under current models, they may begin to prioritize agencies that offer not just opportunity, but protection. For younger generations of talent, the idea of ethical backing may become more important than immediate exposure or monetary gain. Gold Medalist's defiance could attract artists looking for more than management, looking for alignment. Ultimately, the strategy is a gamble on time. Time for public opinion to shift. Time for facts to emerge. Time for the spectacle to subside so that substance can take its place. And if they are right, if their values-based branding succeeds, Gold Medalist won't just be known for representing Kim Soo Hyun, they'll be remembered as the agency that changed the game. Every gamble has two sides. Gold Medalist's choice to stand by Kim Soo Hyun has been widely discussed for its boldness, but beneath that audacity lies a fragile wager, one that could either reshape an industry or render the agency a cautionary tale for decades to come. Let's imagine the worst-case scenario first. If this strategy collapses, the fallout could be catastrophic. Financially, the agency would face immediate losses. Already, several brand endorsements have been severed. If public sentiment turns irreversibly, other actors and companies associated with Gold Medalist may attempt to cut ties, fearing reputational contagion. Potential recruits might perceive the agency as reckless, and investors could reconsider their backing. If Kim Soo Hyun's image fails to recover, the agency may lose its most profitable asset, the very cornerstone on which it was built. Reputationally, the collapse would be even more significant. Gold Medalist has staked its public identity on moral backbone. A failure would not simply reflect poorly on their decision, it would signal that values-based branding in the Korean context is naive, unfeasible, or even self-destructive. It would discourage other agencies from deviating from the formula of silence and severance, leading to an even more risk-averse entertainment landscape. Internally, the implications could be sobering. Talent under the agency might begin to question their security, realizing that loyalty does not guarantee stability. Staff could experience burnout from prolonged crisis management. The agency may have to undergo leadership changes or restructuring to survive. But then there's the other possibility, that this bold strategy succeeds. If Gold Medalist manages to navigate this storm without public collapse, they will emerge as pioneers. The industry will have no choice but to take note. Other agencies, especially mid-tier or newer firms looking for differentiation, may begin to incorporate support-oriented clauses in talent contracts. The standard of representation could shift from mere management to ethical stewardship. The public, too, would be impacted. Fans would begin to view loyalty not just as a trait of the star, but of the institution behind them. The parasocial relationships that fuel much of Korean fan culture might mature, becoming less volatile and more critically engaged. Instead of demanding flawless perfection, fans may begin to reward transparency and support resilience. Across Asia, agencies in Japan, Taiwan, Thailand, and China will be watching. Korean pop culture holds an outsized influence in the region. If this model of loyalty proves viable, other entertainment hubs could begin to shift in the same direction. Risk mitigation strategies might expand to include not just damage control, but value alignment and narrative patience. This isn't just a PR crisis, it's a trial by fire that could rewrite the protocols of fame management. If successful, the case of Gold Medalist will be studied in entertainment law seminars, public relations programs, and business schools as a masterclass in high-stakes brand transformation. At its heart, this strategy is less about weathering scandal than it is about rewriting the conditions under which stars are allowed to be human. At the heart of Gold Medalist's stance lies a question that transcends industry. Can public figures be forgiven? And more broadly, should they be? The Korean entertainment industry has long answered this with a definitive no. It has historically favored the swiftness of erasure over the discomfort of nuance. But that consensus is eroding. The cultural winds are shifting. Not just within Korea, but globally, the era of moral absolutism, where a single accusation triggers total collapse, is under review. In its place, a fragile but growing appetite for redemption is taking root. The fatigue is real. Across fan bases, online forums, and media outlets, the endless cycle of exposure, outrage, and cancellation has become predictable. The dopamine rush of tearing down idols has begun to dull. Instead of moral clarity, the public is often left with ambiguity and regret. Who did we silence? Who did we lose? What truth was sacrificed in the name of immediacy? This fatigue has cracked open a space for reconsideration. It's within this gap that Gold Medalist has planted its flag. But the notion of redemption isn't new. Across sectors, from sports to politics to business, high-profile figures have fallen from grace and returned. Tiger Woods, once cast aside amid personal scandals, reclaimed his stature through a combination of personal growth and athletic brilliance. Monica Lewinsky, vilified for decades, re-emerged as an advocate for digital ethics and anti-bullying. Even in politics, public figures like Al Franken and Eliot Spitzer, once ousted in scandal, have slowly been reintegrated into cultural discourse, albeit with caution and recalibrated roles. These comebacks, while not always linear or complete, suggest that redemption is possible when the public is offered a narrative of transformation. It requires accountability, transparency, and time. But more importantly, it requires a cultural climate willing to allow people to be more than their worst moment. Korea, with its conservative underpinnings and perfectionist media culture, has been slow to adopt this model. The expectation for public figures is not just to perform well, but to be paragons of morality. Scandal, no matter how trivial or unproven, is treated as a contamination of character. Apologies are scripted before allegations are verified. Careers are often forfeited in the name of optics, not justice. And yet, change is visible on the margins. Younger fans, many of whom navigate complex digital identities themselves, are more attuned to the grey areas of human behavior. They question the fairness of annihilation. They demand context. This shift is especially pronounced in global fan bases, where Western and Southeast Asian audiences often express skepticism toward instant cancellations and express empathy towards stars caught in digital firestorms. Generational change fuels this evolution. Millennials and Gen Z, shaped by movements like Me Too, BLM, and mental health advocacy, understand the difference between accountability and annihilation. They've watched as public opinion ruined lives and reputations, sometimes prematurely. They know the algorithms reward outrage, not always truth. And they are asking, what comes after cancellation? The Gold Medalist strategy taps directly into this shift. By refusing to participate in the rush to exile, they are offering a model of restorative rather than retributive justice. It's not a denial of wrongdoing, it's a refusal to conflate accusation with guilt. Their response signals that reputation, like humanity, can be resilient when handled with care. This approach also resonates with a growing public appetite for realism over perfection. The flawless idol is no longer aspirational, it's alienating. Audiences are tired of idealized personas that crumble under scrutiny. They want authenticity, vulnerability, and truth. Redemption narratives, when genuine, satisfy this hunger far more than the endless churn of disposable celebrities. In this sense, Gold Medalist isn't just managing a crisis, they are tapping into a deeper cultural longing to see public figures treated as human beings, capable of error and growth. This mirrors shifts in other domains. In sports, Simone Biles stepped away from Olympic competition, citing mental health, challenging decades of stoic, superhuman athletic expectation. The public response? Overwhelming support. In politics, figures once condemned by scandal have re-emerged after periods of reflection. The public does not forget, but it does, increasingly, forgive. Even in the world of finance and entrepreneurship, redemption arcs are taking root. Founders who faced backlash for toxic cultures or failed ventures often reappear years later, rebranded with new ventures and lessons learned. The idea that a career must end in total collapse is becoming outdated. These examples illustrate a societal pivot, from binary judgment to a more restorative framework, from exile to re-entry, from fear to compassion. What Gold Medalist is testing, perhaps unwittingly, is whether this shift has reached Korean entertainment. The implications go beyond agency behavior. They cut to the core of how societies view public power. For too long, we have demanded moral perfection from those in the spotlight, while granting ourselves the grace of imperfection. This imbalance has fostered a dangerous asymmetry, where fame becomes both a pedestal and a noose. The obsession with moral perfection isn't just about entertainment, it's about control. To dehumanize a star is to make them easier to idolize and easier to destroy. But as audiences grow more aware of media manipulation, parasocial fatigue, and algorithmic outrage, the appetite for these extremes is waning. What's emerging in its place is a more sustainable model, one that values emotional intelligence over image, process over performance, and repair over removal. This doesn't mean that every celebrity should be spared criticism. Accountability remains crucial, but the punishment must fit the transgression, and the process must allow for due diligence, not instant demolition. When scandal becomes theatre, truth is the first casualty. In resisting the demand for immediate disavowal, Gold Medalist may be setting a tone that redefines entertainment ethics for the digital age. Their choice challenges not only industry protocols but also our own reflexes as consumers, to pause, to question, to understand. And perhaps that's the real cultural shift. Not the strategy itself, but what it reveals about us, that we are ready, or at least willing, to view public figures not as statues to be toppled, but as people, flawed, evolving, and deserving of grace. As Gold Medalist continues to stand by Kim Soo Hyun amid the controversy, the agency isn't merely navigating a high-stakes PR situation, it's challenging the foundational dynamics of the entertainment industry itself. The implications of this decision ripple far beyond Kim Soo Hyun's career or the agency's reputation. At its core, this is a test case, a trial that may shape the future of celebrity management and reflect the public's growing unease with cancel culture. By choosing to defend their star instead of bowing to the immediate swell of public judgment, Gold Medalist is compelling society to face some uncomfortable truths about our collective relationship with fame, justice, and redemption. In the K-pop and K-drama world especially, the entertainment industry has long upheld a ruthless standard. The illusion of perfection is everything, and the moment that illusion cracks, the individual is discarded. This cycle, rooted in dehumanization, demands that celebrities remain flawless or risk instant erasure. The result? An atmosphere fueled by fear, secrecy, and fleeting careers. Yet here, Gold Medalist is telling a different story, one that prioritizes accountability over appearance, empathy over expedience, and loyalty over the cold arithmetic of image control. It's a narrative with the potential to reshape how crises involving public figures are managed, and how the public responds. Still, the agency's choice to back Kim Soo Hyun brings a deeper question into focus. What does loyalty mean in the world of fame? Is it simply preserving a career at all costs, or is it about defending a person's dignity and their right to be considered innocent until proven otherwise? Gold Medalist seems to be betting on the latter. But such a stance isn't without its hazards. It relies on the hope that people will prioritize principle over perception, and that fans and industry players won't be swayed by the quicksand of viral outrage. In a digital age where social media can topple a career before breakfast, believing in transparency and integrity might seem idealistic, even reckless. But what if it's not? What if this is the start of something bigger? A collective rewriting of the rules that govern celebrity culture? What if the future is one where nuance takes precedence over knee-jerk responses, where moral absolutism gives way to empathy, and where redemption is given equal weight as error? If Gold Medalist manages to weather this storm, the entertainment industry could witness a fundamental shift toward more ethical, compassionate talent management. It could signal a move away from the cold, mechanical handling of image crises and toward a model that recognizes both the immense pressure and inherent vulnerability of fame. Conversely, if this defense fails, if Kim Soo Hyun and the agency are ultimately abandoned by the public, it may simply reinforce the very system that punishes imperfection with exile. It'll become a cautionary tale, proof of what happens when you try to stand still in the path of a stampede. But really, this moment isn't just about Kim Soo Hyun. It's a litmus test for how we, as a society, engage with our cultural icons. Will we keep clinging to the fantasy of the flawless idol, or can we begin to embrace something real, something human? By defending Kim Soo Hyun, Gold Medalist may not just be shielding a celebrity, they might be igniting a cultural reckoning that challenges everything we thought we knew about fame. There are moments in culture that transcend the headlines, moments that tap us gently on the shoulder and ask us to reassess how we live, judge, and belong to each other. Gold Medalist's decision is one of those moments. It might not look revolutionary on the surface. To some, it may read like a calculated business move or a risky PR play, but beneath the hashtags and hot takes, something more essential is unfolding. Something profoundly human. This isn't merely about a celebrity facing vague accusations. It's about what we do when real people fall short of our imagined ideals. It's about how quickly we erase a legacy, how fast we reduce years of work to a single headline. It's about the volume with which we demand apologies and the silence that follows any chance for redemption. In today's world, speed trumps truth. The internet doesn't wait. Scandal breaks faster than morning light. Rumors snowball into condemnation before we even know the facts. And amid the chaos, real people, flawed, layered, fallible people, get crushed. Not necessarily because they're guilty, or even because they did anything wrong, but because silence feels safer than compassion, distance feels easier than conviction. Gold Medalist chose not to walk away. They stayed, they drew a line, not out of certainty they'd prevail, but because they believed it mattered to stand up. And that matters. Most of us don't live in the glare of the spotlight, but we know what it's like to falter, to be misunderstood, to be judged without a voice. Maybe that's why this story resonates, because it isn't just about one actor, it's about all of us. It's about the kind of culture we want to cultivate. One where people are cast aside at the first sign of controversy, or one where someone dares to stay when things get complicated. There's something deeply moving about that kind of loyalty. Not blind, not stubborn, not naive, but a loyalty that says, I still see you, I know who you are, and I won't let this moment erase the rest of your story. It's rare, and it's powerful. And if Gold Medalist's patience pays off, if Kim Soo Hyun is given the space to breathe, to speak, to simply be without being devoured, it could mark the beginning of something new. A blueprint. A model where agencies prioritize people over optics. Where fans favor context over clickbait. Where the industry learns to lead with care instead of fear. That shift could ripple through Korean entertainment. Agencies might ask themselves deeper questions. Who are we truly protecting? An image or a person? Artists might finally feel safe being imperfect. Contracts might evolve. PR norms might shift. Audiences might grow more discerning, more fair. But if this attempt collapses, if Gold Medalist is mocked or penalized for their stance, the message will be clear. Grace still has no place here. Not yet. And that would be a loss. Not just for Kim Soo Hyun, not just for one agency, but for anyone hoping this industry can be more than a factory of idealized illusions. There's always a cost to loyalty. It takes courage to resist the noise, to wait for truth in a culture that feeds on immediacy. It takes courage to believe in someone when it would be easier to walk away. But there's also a cost to surrender, to always choose the exit, to let go of people before you know if they even need to be let go. That's why this feels like a reckoning, because what's really on trial isn't just a scandal, it's our own reflexes, our morals, our capacity for empathy. Can we tolerate ambiguity? Can we allow for complexity? Can we understand that justice requires more than a viral moment? This isn't about brushing aside real harm. It's about resisting the urge to conflate accusation with guilt, volume with truth, and reaction with resolution. And if a revolution is brewing here, it's because someone finally said, not this time. Not this time when the easy thing is to retreat. Not this time when fear gets to dictate the response. Not this time when the algorithm writes our ethics for us. Gold Medalist's gamble is still in play, the outcome's unknown, but something has already shifted. The question has changed. It's no longer, can they survive this? It's, what does survival even mean? Because maybe survival isn't about escaping scandal. Maybe it's about standing firm when your values are on the line. Maybe that's the first step toward a better kind of fame, a more humane industry, a more compassionate world, one where celebrities are seen not as gods or scapegoats, but as people, where we recognize the possibility of mistakes, and even more importantly, the necessity of mercy. If Gold Medalist wins this bet, it won't just be a career saved, it will be a testament to the enduring power of principle. A reminder that silence isn't always strength, and that in some hands, patience can be revolutionary. Maybe it already is. At Critical Thinkers, we stand by one thing: truth that doesn't flinch. Because the moment we stop questioning the system, we become the very system we hate. You're tuned into Truth Unfiltered, brought to you by Critical Thinkers, where the truth speaks louder than the mob. Like, share, subscribe, not just to game the algorithm, but to stay awake in a world built to numb you. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.